Dear chess friends, this is Dufek on our chess channel, and today I will present you another weapon against going for defense. Because I think that against this mainstream opening, it's very good to have prepared some more weapons than just one. Let's start with the game Babula Bronstein. d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5, c takes d5. Knight takes d5, which was played 100 times, and now main move is, of course, e4. But I would like to present you to move bishop d2, which looks quite innocent because bishop on d2 is quite passive. But it is a very simple but poison idea. After knight takes c3, white wants to take on c3 with bishop, and then play e4 and make this center very strong, which will be support with other pieces, with like knight f3 and bishop d3, for example. But of course, this is just some kind of ideal world, because of course black will fight against this idea. In the game, Bronstein played bishop g7, which is main move, and another very important move is knight b6. Because now usually white plays knight f3 or e3, which both moves are good, but they are quite slow. And I think that in this position, white can use very aggressive idea by Grandmaster Rigger, which he found very interesting. e4, simply leaving this pawn for free. Now black must decide if he will take or not. And if he will take, which was played in Regret Krasenkov, Warsaw 2013, the game was very short. Queen c2. Of course, idea like rook d1, knight f3, and using these moves to win some time for development. And it's not easy to develop black pieces, because black must defend against a lot of threats from white player. c6, knight f3, queen d8, rook d1. Now some moves like bishop g5 or even maybe bishop h6 is on the agenda. At 8d7, bishop f4, which is very disturbing because now white controls e5. It maybe wants to play e5 or e6. Even there is another hidden threat, knight b5, because after cb, there is bishop c7 with trapping queen. Bishop g7 was played by black, and as I said, knight b5. Very, very unpleasant threat. Knight c7 or bishop c7 firstly, or knight c7. e5 was played. Bishop g5, attacking queen. f6. Knight d6 check, king f8. Bishop d2. We see that for just pawn, white has very strong initiative. Black king is very weak, and in fact white won in a few moves. Queen e7, bishop c4 or b4. There's some kind of pin. c5, bishop a3, f5 to make something like bishop f6 and king g7 possible. Bishop e2, f4, h4. Not only threatening something like h5, but knight g5 too. h6, h5, g5, h5, and now queen e6, h takes g6, queen takes g6, which looks like black is more or less okay, but white found very important weak square. He will move his knight from f3 to the square, knight h4, queen x6, knight df5, with another very strong threat, which is probably impossible to parry, rook d6 and knight g6, with absolutely lost position for black. And in fact, after king g8, rook d6, queen f7, knight g6, black resign because the position is terrible. There are in fact, no moves. But after e4, of course, black is not forced to take this pawn, and he can play slowly bishop g7, which will transpose to bishop g7, e4, e4, and now knight b6. And now I think the very good way how to continue is bishop e3, short castle. And in another game, Babula played against Gurmaktik in Budva 2019. Very nice and instructive game. He played bishop b5, which looks strange, but simply white wants to force one of these moves, which are slightly disturbing black development. That is why black played immediately e5, and after d takes e5, he played c6, bishop e2, bishop takes e5, queen c2, bishop g7, which looks like quite normal position, but there are some problems with black pieces. This bishop doesn't have any prospect in the future, maybe e6 square, but this is not just a very good square for it. And this knight is another problematic piece, because nor a6, even d7 are not final squares for this knight. And even in this position, white used very nice idea, and he played h4. With idea, of course, opening h file. Bishop e6, h5, knight a6, to make some counterplay with moves like knight b4 and knight c4. And now Babula made a very interesting decision, and he took on a6, simply destroying pawn structure on queen side, and now continue to develop rook d1, queen e7, knight g2, knight c4. It looks like black has very interesting counterplay, because both bishops are very strong, and that is why now bishop d4. Okay. Simply exchange to very strong bishop on g7. And if we will remove these bishops from board, then white will have a very big advantage, because he has better pawn structure. Knight e5, knight a4, will be 4 check, bishop c3, queen e7, f4, knight g4, exchanging bishops, hg, queen c3, knight f6, knight c5, knight xe3, knight xe3. And we can stop now there, because we see that still black has still very weak queen side, and white has very strong knights. And of course, the bishop is very bad too, and Babula won a game in 56 moves. Oh, let's back to our game, where Bronstein played main move bishop g7, e4, and after knight b6, bishop e3, we will be back in Babula Gurmaktik game. Knight takes c3, bishop takes c3, short castle, queen d2. And this is simply main position of the system. And black now must attack the white center, usually with knight c6 or c5. c5 was played by Bronstein. Let's check knight c6 move. We just played, in fact, Carlsen against Anand in Sochi in 2014 in their for championship match. That knight f3, bishop g4, d5, bishop takes g3, and now we must stop because now white is forced to take on g7, which is very strong. King g7, gf3, knight e5, queen c3, and because this unpleasant pin, black is forced to play f6. Otherwise, f4 will win a piece. f6, bishop h3, c6, long castle, c takes d5, e takes d5. And we can stop there because at the end Carlsen just made a draw in this game. However, I think that white has some kind of advantage because, of course, knight is very strong, on e5, but he will be transposed somewhere, probably to d6. But bishop will come to e6, and then white can try something like f4, f5, h4, h5. And it's very hard to look for some counterplay for black because this bishop on h3 controls very important c8 square, and there is no any rook c8 move, which is very sad for black. I think that in this position white has some kind of advantage. c5 was played in our game, d5, e6, open center, of course. Otherwise, white will play something like knight f3, bishop c4, and short castle, and he will be simply better. Bishop c4, e takes d5, bishop takes d5. And now one of the questions is if black should take on c3, probably not in this position. Because in Monseigneur-Rochdale, St. Petersburg, 2014, was played bc, knight d7, knight f3. We see that this bishop now is absolutely monster. Black must exchange it. Knight f6, short castle, knight takes d5, e takes d5, queen d6, rook fb1, bishop f5, c4. And we see position looks quite equal, but still this pawn is very big asset for white, and very important are very weak black squares, which means white knight can jump to e5, for example. It's very hard to force to leave this square for black. Like f6 is probably not very good. On the other side, if there would be some bishop on g7, for example, black bishop on g7 and white bishop on e3, then black would be a very strong counterplay with a6, b5. But in this position is simply impossible. Game continued. b6, queen h6, simple threat, knight g5, with disaster on h7, queen f6, queen f4, bishop g7, knight e5. We see now this monster, which, of course, f7, g6, and g4 squares are not so important, but there is c6 square. And from c6, it's very close to a7. Rook a8, rook e3, bishop c8, exchanging on f6, and rook a to e1. And white has a very big advantage. In fact, he won in a few moves this weak pawn with knight c6 and something like rook a3, and he won endgame in 54 moves. That is why probably move which was played by Bronstein is better. Knight d7, bishop g7, king g7. Now we see that there is no pawn on c3 to support this. Knight e2, knight f6, long castle. Oh, which looks strange because we still didn't see this move in this line. But of course, it's quite logical. Not only moving king from the center, but developing this rook to d5 in one move. And now, Black made probably mistake. He played queen e7, which looks very logical. Not only moving the queen from this square, but attacking this pawn and maybe rook d8, this onto agenda and so on, and maybe bishop e6. But queen e7 is absolutely logical move. But probably better was taking on d5. He takes d5. And now, even now, Black can make some error. And it was, in fact, it did in the game Hammer Kramer, Helsingor 2016. He played bishop d7, and he got himself in a very hard position. After h4, h5, we see pawns are on these squares. It's very good for white. f3, queen f6, knight g3. Of course, we want to jump to e4, bishop f5, and now very strong queen g5 with unpleasant threat. King takes, hg, rook f8, and after taking on f5 and taking on h5, Hammer won a pawn, but still he made some mistakes in the next moves and game finished in draw, but now he's just pawn up. That is why I analyzed a little bit this position, and after ed5, probably more precise, is to play queen f6, and after something like knight c3, bishop f5, f3, and now very important move, h5 to stop any g4 moves, and probably in this position Black can claim some kind of equality, but of course this doesn't mean that position is a draw. Just position is more or less equal, and now both players will start their own play. But in game, Bronstein played queen e7, which looks, as I said, quite natural, but in fact it's an error. Queen c3. Now this pin is quite unpleasant, which means that Black will be forced to spend some time to leave this king from this diagonal, or otherwise he cannot break this pin. Rook e8, f3, bishop e6. Black simply wants to remove this strong bishop, of course. But knight f4, which maybe was missed by Black, not only supporting this bishop, but after something to take on e6, it means that after fe, which would be first, and Black pawn structure will be destroyed, and Black will be in very bad shape. Black took on d5, and rook takes d5. Just, it's very interesting. Not only preparing doubling on d5, but in fact threatening to taking on c5. And now Bronstein played rook ac8. There is nothing more natural than defending this pawn. How bad Black position is, you will understand when you will run your computer, and offering move by computer is rook a d8. After rook takes c5, computer wants to take on c5, rook c8, and after taking on c8, king g2, and computer wants to defend this this game, which is absolutely lost. Black is pawn down, rook c1 is coming, or rook d1, king e3, e5. Knight's endgame is lost, rook endgame is lost, absolutely perspectless position. Rook ac8 was played, and rook h d1, doubling on d file. And now there is first threat, rook d7. Because the knight is pinned, there is no possibility, of course, to take on d7. King g8, finally break this pin, and rook d6, asking this knight what will be next. Knight h5. It's crazy, but just only other move was rook c6. But after rook takes c6, bc6. Now queen d3 is coming with decisive advantage for white. With the next queen d6, exchanging queens, rook d6, and with some kind of double attack, even if black will just in time to cover everything with something like king g7 or so, and rook c8, then this pawn will be lost in a long run. Knight h5 was played. Knight takes h5. Queen g5. Of course, after ge. So it's probably something like rook d5 with a terrible position for black. Queen g5 check. Queen d2. Queen takes h5. Queen f4. Queen e5. There's no any other way how to return this queen back to game than queen e5. Exchanging queens and rook d8 check. And we see that after exchanging one pair of rooks, then black will lost that pawn in the long run. Rook e8 was played, but after exchanging rooks, rook takes, king g7, rook d7, b5, rook takes a7. And in fact, because white king is very close to these pawns, it means we will attack them, and then simply king will attack c5 pawn, or b5 after c4. We will of course go to b4 with a lost in game for black. That is why black played rook e8 just to have to rook on 8 rank. Rook takes c8, rook takes c8, rook d7, rook b8. Now, very important, rook c7, and now just there is no way how to defend this pawn, because after b6, of course, we can take on a7. That is why black played h5. And of course, I think that nearly everybody would take on c5, which is of course still a very good winning move. But I like white decision, because h5, not only black just built this typical pawn structure for rook endgames, but he made some kind of counterplay or prepare counterplay, maybe h4, maybe to move to king to g5. Of course, this is not exactly true, but it makes some idea of making some counterplay on a king side. But white now stopped all chances of black for counterplay, and he played very strong h4. He stopped his pawn. There is no any counterplay, and now he will simply take his pawn, and he will win endgame in a few moves. king g7, rook c5, king h6, rook c7. The main problem is, of course, that this rook is so active and this rook is so passive now. And even for a pawn, black was not able to get enough counterplay. And now, quite simply, will move his king to center and start pushing his pawns, f4, g4. Oh, even maybe king to f4 and preparing g4 and so on. Maybe king can even, it depends on black direction, but even white king can change direction to queen side, because this rook will attack pawns on king side. King e6, king g2, f5. This is just last try to make some, not counterplay, but change direction of the game. King e3, f takes e4, king takes e4. And now, of course, it depends on black decision. If king will go to f6, then probably king will move to queen side. And when king went to d6, then rook g7 came with attacking this pawn, which is not possible to defend, and black resign. Of course, he could play something like rook e check, but after king d3, two pawns are attacked, and white is winning endgame. Well, this is everything about bishop d2 line, which I want to share with you, and I hope that you enjoyed it. And thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.